What's up out there, world? I hope everybody is doing good. Dr. Watts back again with Mindful Moments podcast, tea, mental health tea, good tea with Dr. Watts. I am so excited to be back here with you guys again. I just wanted to quick hop on here today just to give y'all this week's topic and what we'll discuss and what we're going to be talking about just a little bit here in dialogue. Um, First of all, I hope everybody has had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend wherever you are in the world, and that you were able to do something for yourself. And, I think about that often, right? Like, especially as a professional, like, it's so easy to say and tell everybody else, like, self-care this, self-care that. But when it comes down to self, it's really ultimately hard to do. And so I have to be very intentional about me spending time with myself, about me saying, you know what? I need to take time for me. I need to be sure that I'm taking care of myself so that I can continue to pour into other people and to be present and available for other people. So that's a really good something to talk about too, the time that we spend with ourselves. But today I want to talk about a little bit about forgiveness. And the reason is like I talked to my daughter just the other day. I always ask her, what you doing? She's in college and whatnot. So proud of her and all that she's doing. But was talking to her. I was like, hey, you go to church today? And she was like, yep. Mom, I did go to church. And I said, okay, well, what did the pastor talk about? What was the topic for today? And she goes, forgiveness. And I'm like, I'm going to talk about that. Forgiveness and how to move forward in that order, right? And so oftentimes forgiveness comes up, especially in a therapeutic setting, right? Forgiveness in the sense of not being able to, or holding on to something, rather, let me say that. Holding on to something in your heart and your mind, and you carry it with you for many years, sometimes generations, sometimes for, again, years at a time, right? And so we hold on to these things because we haven't given ourselves the opportunity to sit down in this thing and process it, assess it, and then to say, you know what, I'm still hurting because I need to forgive that situation. So whether it's forgiving yourself or someone else, right? Forgiveness does not always come easy. And so because it doesn't come easy, again, we continue to live our lives withholding something. I don't want to say hate in our hearts always, but a space in our hearts where we haven't forgiven. Again, whether it's yourself because of a situation, or someone else because of a situation related to you, something that someone may have done to you, right? So forgiveness is like, it's a process to forgiveness. And I always tell I remember raising as I raised my children, but as I raise my children, if they say sorry to me, I'm like, why are you apologizing? That's the first question, right? So first of all, why are you apologizing? Or are you just saying sorry because it's a term that was like kind of taught a little bit. Like people say sorry all the time, right? They say, I'm sorry. And it's like, but what are you sorry for? Right? So oftentimes when I would ask my child that, they would say, well, well, and oftentimes they would have to think about it. So what I would make them do is sit in that emotion. No, you're not just going to tell me sorry if you don't know what you're apologizing for. Okay? So that's one thing. That's one way. That's another area where people go wrong when it comes down to apologizing. I just say it just to get it over with. No, don't just go and apologize to someone just to get it over with, because what did you do to that person? What did you say to that person? How did you offend that person? Why do you feel that you need to say sorry to that person? Or on the other side, the person, are you accepting it? Right? So with apologies, with forgiveness, there's a process. So there's the forgiver and there's the one that's being forgiven. right? And so we have a process that we must go through on both sides of forgiveness. Forgiveness is hard to do. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's easy, especially depending on the circumstance or the situation. Reason I'm talking about forgiveness is because so many people try to continue with life and they're just like, why can't I can't get to where I'm trying to go? And I'm like, because you haven't released some things. You haven't forgiven. You haven't forgiven and now you have to forgive yourself for holding on to something so very long, right? So forgiveness, that's the part of forgiveness. And it's so much more. Like oftentimes people come and they say, well, like, I feel like I need to say sorry, or I feel like I need to forgive, right? Like the person who's saying sorry to me, but I just can't, Dr. Watts, because what they did was so wrong. Like no one should ever, and that may be so, but how much better is that making you feel as the person who have to forgive the person who's trying to ask for an apology by holding on to it, right? So now does that make you just as big or just as bad as the person who did the wrong thing? Does it make you just as bad as that person who basically did, perform the action of whatever they did that led them to having to say, I'm sorry. Now, this is no disregard to people who have gone through traumatic situations. This is no disregard. Trust me, this is no disregard. But forgiveness is a part of life. Forgiveness has to be a part of life, okay? So I encourage you to find it in your heart, to sit with that thing, to say, you know what? Yes, they hurt me. Right? And we can get very deep here because a lot of times when there are, and listen, this talk show is so real, where we're going to talk about things that may make you cry, that may make you upset. But sometimes people feel like, well, why should I forgive this person if they, assaulted me in a way? If they, and I'm speaking of traumatic things that people go through. Why should I forgive my husband if he did this? Why should I forgive my wife if she did that? Why should I forgive my children if, they don't respect me? If they don't call me, if they don't consider me? Why should I forgive my friend for betraying me? Right? So it gets deeper and deeper. There are layers when it comes down to people wronging people or individuals doing wrong things to other individuals. Let me try to be grammatically correct. I'm just talking to you all because y'all my family, right? So let's have the conversation. Let's have the conversation. It hurts. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it hurts. But I encourage you again, and I love to say encourage because I can't make y'all do nothing. I cannot make you do anything that you do not want to do. Right? I encourage you strongly to find someone that you can rely upon. Again, here we go. And I always remind you of a reliable resource. And it cannot always be your friend. And I will continue to remind you of that every week. Okay? But find someone where you can extract those feelings, those emotions with an expert, with someone that is not going to be biased. Okay? Find someone that can truly, truly help you and say, you know what? This is how I'm feeling. Whether you come and sit on my couch or someone in your area's couch. That's a professional. Let's, again, be clear. Be very clear. Because yes, you have been hurting for a long time. And I am sorry that you went through that thing that you went through. I apologize to you if they haven't come to you yet to say sorry. We know that the Bible says, if you have an ought against any man, then to go to them. Go to them and say, I'm sorry. Forgive me for my wrongdoing. But not only that, now you need to take an extension. Say, God, I need you to please forgive me because I wronged that person. Do it while you still have breath in your body. Do it while God is giving you another chance and another opportunity, which I kind of was just talking about as the word sabotage came up. That's a whole nother thing, right? So do it while you still have time to do it. Then and only then will you be able to move on. That's when you will feel lighter. That's when you will feel like, you know what? is that all I had to do? Just forgive? Just to accept that person's forgiveness? So yeah, I just wanted to quick jump on. I knew I wasn't going to be with you all long. I wanted to say hi. I had a lot of things lined up. Please show me grace, but I will be back on for another topic this week. I love each and every one of you, and you will hear from me soon. Keep tuning in and supporting Dr. Watts and Mindful Moments Podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram. I love to hear your feedback as well. And let me know what y'all got going on out there, okay? Have a purposeful week on purpose, okay? I love you all.